Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so today we're really jumping into the deep end with some advanced cryptography.
We really are. This isn't just about hiding messages anymore. We're talking about the very foundations of trust and privacy in, well, our increasingly digital world.
Right, a world drowning in data. And our mission really is to get our heads around how systems can prove things are true, facts, without actually showing the sensitive stuff underneath.
It's a critical idea. How do we build genuine trust, mathematically verified trust, when there's so much data flying around?
Mm.
These systems we're looking at, they treat privacy as, like, fundamental, baked into the math.
Okay, so we've got three main areas to unpack.
Yeah.
First, this really weird counterintuitive idea, zero knowledge proofs, proving you know something without revealing it.
It sounds impossible, right? That's the hook.
Totally. Second, we need to look at what secure even means for modern ciphers, the really strict standards about, leaking nothing.
Zero information leakage. That's the goal.
And finally, how are these super complex crypto tools actually being used out there, especially in things like decentralized systems?
And that zero knowledge thing you mentioned, that's a perfect place to start. How on earth do you prove, a password or a secret key without, well, giving the game away?
Yeah, and the source is connected straight back to the early days, to RSA security even.
That makes sense, because even early on, you needed ways to authenticate, to prove something. The idea of blind signatures is mentioned right there alongside early ZKP concepts.
Blind signatures. Okay, what's the gist there?
Think of it like this. You want a bank, maybe, or some authority to sign a digital document for you, but you don't want them to actually see the content of that document.
Ah, so they sign it blind. They trust the request somehow, but not the data itself.
Exactly. The authority verifies that your request is valid, that it follows the protocol, maybe checks the format, but they stay blind to the actual message content.
And the zero knowledge part comes in where...
That's where you, the user, prove to the signer that you're playing by the rules. You prove you have the right credentials or parameters to make a valid request, but you don't show the content you want signed.
So you prove you're following the protocol without revealing the private data. That establishes trust while keeping the secret.
Precisely. It's that core idea. Proving a fact, in this case, I am following the rules without transferring the sensitive information itself. That's the essence of ZKPs right from the start.
Okay, let's dig into proofs then. In math class, a proof is like absolute truth forever. But in crypto, a proof of security sounds different, less absolute.
That distinction is absolutely key. A crypto proof isn't about eternal truth. It's what we call a relative truth.
Relative to what?
Relative to an existing hard mathematical problem. The proof shows that breaking the cipher is at least as hard as, say, factoring a massive number or computing a discrete logarithm. Problems mathematicians have studied for decades and believe are computationally infeasible for current computers.
Ah, okay. So we're not saying unbreakable. We're saying as unbreakable as this other thing we all agree is basically impossible right now.
Exactly. It shifts the security burden from the cipher's specific design quirks onto these widely accepted hard problems. But, and this is a huge but,
There's always a catch.
always, these proofs only guarantee security against one specific attack or one specific definition of security.
Meaning?
Meaning you could have a rock-solid proof that finding the private key is as hard as factoring. Great. But what if an attacker finds a completely different way in? Maybe a side channel attack looking at power consumption, or a timing attack.
Ah, they get the plain text, the message, without ever needing the key the proof was protecting.
Precisely. The proof about key recovery difficulty is mathematically correct, but practically irrelevant because the attacker just went around it. Security is holistic. It's not just about one mathematical property.
RSA is the classic example of relying on one hard problem, right? Factoring.
Absolutely. To get the private decryption key, $, you have to be able to factor the public modulus $2, which is just two huge primes, $2 multiplied together.
And how hard is that realistically today?
Well, the sources mention that factoring a 129 decimal digit number is sort of at the very edge of what's possible with current tech and algorithms, which means key sizes have to keep growing to stay ahead.
It's a constant arms race, and it's not just about factoring the whole thing, is it? Can attackers chip away at it, learn partial information?
That's always the worry. But there's some good news. Some RSA variants are proven to be exactly as hard as factoring no shortcuts. And interestingly, other research shows that even getting just specific bits of the message from an RSA ciphertext can be mathematically proven to be as hard as decrypting the entire thing.
Wow, so even a little leak is as hard to get as the whole secret.
In those proven cases, yes. It shows how tightly the security is bound to that core factoring problem. But implementation still matters hugely.
Right, like choosing the public exponent, P. Beller. The sources mention using EPU3 3-alls for speed.
Ah, yes, the temptation of speed. Using ELATEN 3 makes encryption super fast. Basically one multiplication and one squaring operation. Much faster than using a large exponent.
But there's a risk.
A massive one. If you use ilang33Rs, you absolutely must ensure that 3 doesn't divide, 5 free dollar board, and doesn't divide QL order. It's a strict number theory requirement.
And if you mess that up, if 3 does divide one of them,
Catastrophe. The
Yeah.
system completely breaks down. It's no longer RSA, security drops to 0. It highlights how even a seemingly small optimization needs careful mathematical checking. You can't just prioritize speed over the underlying math.
okay, so any 3-3 drill is risky if you're not careful. What's the more standard, safer choice then?
A very common and much safer choice is I133 drill, 60 CO weighted rows, 337 pollers. That's 216 plus lone 1.
Why that number?
It hits a sweet spot. It's prime, which is good. And in binary, it's 100 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 neural nerdy over 33 to 1. This means the exponentiation calculation is still very fast. Only 16 squarings and 1 multiplication.
Ah, so efficient, but avoids the specific risks of a tiny exponent like 3.
Exactly. It resists known attacks, like Coppersmith's attack, that can sometimes work against small exponents, especially if you encrypt the same message for multiple people. It's a good balance of performance and security robustness.
So public key crypto, like RSA, is powerful, but slow. Which is why we don't use it for everything, right? We use hybrid systems.
Exactly right. Pure asymmetric crypto for encrypting, say, a whole movie file would be painfully slow. The standard practice, the hybrid approach, is much smarter.
Walk us through that. Alice sending a message to Bob, Carol, and Dave.
Okay, Alice wants to send a big message. First, she generates a random one-time session key, let's call it $. This $, is for a fast symmetric cipher, like AES.
Like the workhorse ciphers.
Right. She encrypts the big message in dollars using AES with key $. That's fast. Then she uses the slow public key crypto, but only to encrypt the small session key $.
Ah, so she encrypts dollars using Bob's public key, then encrypts it again using Carol's public key, and again for Dave.
Precisely. She sends the AES encrypted Mahler's line along with these 3 small asymmetrically encrypted versions of $. Each recipient uses their private key to decrypt $, and then uses $, to decrypt the main message lotters with AES.
Much more efficient. The heavy lifting is done by the fast symmetric cipher, and the slow public key part only handles the tiny key.
Exactly. The security hinges on protecting that session key $. And while RSA uses factoring, other systems like Elgamal or Diffie-Hellman rely on a different hard problem, the discrete logarithm problem, or DLP.
Right. With Elgamal, you have a big prime pair, a generator $. The private key is some secret number $6, and the public key is ETXMAL, Botters 1, and PAS. Finding $6 is the hard part.
Finding $6 must be computationally infeasible. That's the security guarantee.
Okay, that covers confidentiality. But what about integrity? Making sure the message wasn't tampered with. That brings in hash functions.
Indispensable, especially for digital signatures. Take DSA, the digital signature algorithm. Alice wants to sign message $. First, she computes a hash of the message using something like SHA-3. This creates a short, fixed-size fingerprint of $.
A unique fingerprint.
Ideally, yes.
Yeah.
Collision resistant. Then she uses her private key, $6, and some random secret value $, to compute the signature components, usually called $2. These stored calculations involve
So the hash is cryptographically tied in to the signature itself.
critically so. If someone changes even a single bit in the message $, after it's signed, the hash route will completely change.
And the signature verification will fail.
Immediately. That's why cryptographic hashes are way better than old-school checksums like CRC. A CRC might not change even if you maliciously alter the data slightly. You can sometimes find collisions easily. With a good crypto hash, forging a signature for altered content without the private key is practically impossible. They ensure content integrity.
Okay, we've got relative trust from hard problems, but you mentioned leakage. Even tiny bits of information getting out. That leads us to the next level. Crypto designed to leak absolutely nothing.
Yes, This is a much stronger security goal. It's not just about making decryption hard. It's about making the ciphertext look like complete random noise, indistinguishable from the encryption of any other message.
Because deterministic systems where the same message always encrypts to the same ciphertext with the same key, they can leak.
They can. Subtly, maybe, but potentially devastatingly. A clever cryptanalyst might figure out statistical properties, like maybe they can deduce that the 5th bit plus the 17th bit plus the 39th bit of the original message always XORs to 1.
Doesn't sound like much, but I guess any information is bad.
Any leakage violates the ideal, and worse, it enables a simple comparison attack. If I intercept your ciphertext sooty dollars, I can just try encrypting messages I guess you might have sent minor dollars using your public key if my resulting dollar matches your dollar.
I know what you sent. Game over. That's the IND-CPA thing, right?
Yeah.
Indistinguishability under chosen plaintext attack.
Exactly that, the standard security notion. And the solution is probabilistic encryption, PE.
Probabilistic, meaning it involves randomness.
Yes. When you encrypt the same message dollars multiple times with the same public key using PE, you get a different ciphertext each time.
So the comparison attack fails. My dollar will never match your dollars, even if my guess dollar was correct.
Correct. And mathematically, PE is designed to ensure no partial information leaks either. The ciphertext reveals statistically nothing about the plaintext bits.
How does it do that? Where does the randomness come in, and what's the cost?
The randomness has to be added during encryption. Think of it like adding salt. And because you're adding this randomness, the ciphertext must be larger than the plaintext.
Always.
Always. That's an unavoidable consequence. Early PE schemes were impractical because they made ciphertexts way too big.
But we have efficient ways now.
Yes. Clever schemes were developed. A notable one uses the Bloom Shub, or BBS, random bit generator.
Oh, okay, but now the security depends on the random generator being good, right?
It does. But here's the elegant part. The security of BBS generator itself is proven to be equivalent to...
Let me guess. Factoring.
You got it. Factoring the modulus 1PQ dollars used within the BBS generator. So the difficulty of factoring guarantees the generator produces bits that look random, and those random-looking bits are used to make the encryption probabilistic and secure against leakage.
Wow. It all loops back to those hard math problems.
Number theory, underpinning information theory. It's quite beautiful, really.
Okay, so PE gives strong guarantees, but maybe it's still too slow for, say, encrypting a massive video stream in real time. That's where stream ciphers come in, like SEAL.
Exactly. Stream ciphers are built for speed, especially for software implementations. SEAL, the software-efficient stream cipher, was specifically designed back in the day to fly on common 32-bit processors.
How'd they optimize it for software?
They focused on using processor registers efficiently, needing only a small memory cache. It was about making the algorithm map well to how CPUs actually work, rather than designing for a specialized hardware.
And it's described as a PRF, a pseudo-random function family. What's that mean?
A PRF is basically a function that takes a secret key and a non-secret input, like a counter or block number, often called N here, and produces an output that's completely random, totally unpredictable, unless you have the key.
So, predictable if you have the key, random if you don't.
That's the idea. With SEAL, you give it a 160-bit key and a 32-bit input. Now, it then stretches this into a long string of pseudo-random bits, potentially up to 64 kilobytes long.
And that long string is used as the encryption key stream.
Right, you XOR it with your plain text.
Yep.
The key is that if TAT is truly random, the output counter should be computationally indistinguishable from a truly random sequence of that length.
How does it achieve the speed then?
SEAL uses a clever trick. It has a somewhat slower initial setup phase where it uses the key to build some internal tables. But once those tables are ready, generating the actual keystream bits for encryption or decryption is incredibly fast, perfect for high-throughput stuff.
Let's shift gears to a place where security is literally critical, the smart grid. Protecting data there isn't just about privacy, it's about safety. TLS is the baseline.
Transport layer security, yes. It's becoming standard for protecting communications between devices in modern power grids. It defends against eavesdropping, message tampering, replay attacks, the usual suspects.
But not all grid components can run TLS, right? Older stuff.
True. In those cases, or sometimes for architectural reasons, you might rely on network-level encryption, like using VPN's virtual private networks.
Like encrypting the traffic between substations using dedicated VPN boxes.
Exactly. But VPNs have an interesting dual role here. They provide confidentiality while the data is in transit over the potentially insecure network.
Okay, makes sense.
But once the encrypted traffic reaches the secure perimeter, say inside the control center network, it gets decrypted by the VPN appliance before it reaches the final server or control system.
And that decrypted traffic.
It can then be inspected by an intrusion detection system, IDS, or an intrusion prevention system, IPS. These systems can analyze the actual commands and data flows to look for anomalies, attacks, or policy violations within the trusted network.
That's a great point. The VPN ensures confidentiality during transit, but allows for integrity and security checks after transit inside the secure zone.
Exactly. It separates confidentiality for the journey from integrity inspection at the destination. And speaking of integrity, this brings us back to why cryptographic hashes are so vital, especially compared to older checksums.
Right, you mentioned checksums like CRC aren't good enough.
Not nearly. It's too easy for an attacker to modify a file or a piece of code and modify it in such a way that the simple checksum remains the same. That's a collision.
But with crypto hashes like SHA-3?
Finding such a collision deliberately is believed to be computationally infeasible. So if you download software and verify its SHA-3 hash against the published one, you can be much more confident it hasn't been maliciously tampered with. They are the essential replacement for ensuring data integrity today.
Okay, let's bring these powerful crypto ideas into the world of digital money, specifically privacy coins. Monero comes up a lot.
Monero was fascinating because it was built from the ground up specifically to fix the privacy shortcomings of early cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin.
Shortcomings. Bitcoin was supposed to be anonymous, wasn't it?
Pseudo-anonymous, maybe? But the blockchain is public. By the mid-2010s, researchers and law enforcement got really good at blockchain analysis, linking transactions, clustering addresses, and de-anonymizing users.
Like tracing the money from the Silk Road marketplace.
Exactly. Silk Road generated something like $650 million in sales, and much of it was traced via Bitcoin's public ledger, leading to major arrests. That transparency became a liability for those wanting real privacy.
So Monero was designed to break that traceability. How?
It uses a combination of three key cryptographic techniques, all mandatory by default. First, ring signatures.
Ring signatures, what do they do?
When you send Monero, your transaction input is cryptographically mixed with a set of other random inputs from the blockchain. These are the decoys forming the ring. Anyone can verify that one of the inputs in the ring was the real one being spent, but they can't tell which one.
Plausible deniability for the sender. Okay, what's second?
Hiding the transaction amount. This uses ring confidential transactions, or ring CT.
Ring CT sounds complicated.
It is. It uses some pretty advanced crypto, including elements related to zero-knowledge proofs, to prove that the transaction is valid inputs, equal outputs, no money created out of thin air, but without revealing the actual numbers involved.
So the network verifies the math works, but never sees the amount.
Correct. Total amount confidentiality.
Yeah.
And third, protecting the recipient
How's that done?
through stealth addresses. Every time someone sends you Monero, your wallet automatically generates a unique one-time address just for that specific transaction. Your main public address never appears on the blockchain.
So observers can't link multiple payments going to the same person.
Exactly. It breaks the chain of analysis on the recipient side, too. Sender obfuscation, amount obfuscation, recipient obfuscation. All mandatory.
And the proof is in the pudding. Ransomware gangs started demanding it.
By 2021, they realized Bitcoin was getting too traceable by law enforcement. So many shifted to demanding Monero ransoms instead. A clear market signal that the privacy tech was effective.
Beyond just currency, these advanced tools are crucial for making decentralized systems work, right? Things needing collaboration without central control.
Absolutely. And efficiency becomes paramount there. That's why elliptic curve cryptography, ECC, has become so dominant.
Why ECC over, say, traditional RSA or Diffie-Hellman?
The main reason is key size. For the same level of cryptographic security, ECC keys, both public and private, are much, much shorter than RSA or DH keys.
Which means?
Faster calculations, less data to transmit, less storage needed. That's a huge win, especially for constrained devices like smartphones or IoT sensors. ECDH elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman for key exchange is standard now.
And it's used in hybrid schemes, too.
Yes, like ECA, the elliptic curve integrated encryption scheme. It's a common way to build hybrid encryption using ECC.
Is it well standardized? Like, if different systems use ECIs, can they talk to each other?
Well, that's where it gets messy. The sources point out that while EC eases in standards like ANSI X9.63 and others, almost every standard defines a slightly different variant of it.
Oh, great. So standard doesn't mean interoperable.
Often not, unfortunately. Different key derivation functions, different symmetric ciphers allowed, different ways of encoding things. It creates real headaches for developers trying to make systems work together. Standardization isn't always uniform.
Okay, another area in distributed systems is verifying things collectively. Like if a whole group of nodes signs off on something, checking thousands of individual signatures sounds slow.
Incredibly slow.
Yeah.
That's where some really advanced math comes in, specifically involving pairing calculations on elliptic curves. These allow for aggregate signatures.
Aggregate signatures.
Yeah. Imagine each node in a group calculates its own signature in $10. Instead of verifying each Delaware individually, the system can mathematically combine them all into one single short aggregate signature.
And verifying that one signature proves the whole group participated.
Essentially, yes. Using these pairing computations, verifying that aggregate signature, which represents perhaps thousands of individual actions, might only take, say, 3 pairing calculations.
3 calculations to check thousands of signatures. That's amazing.
It's a massive efficiency gain, crucial for making large-scale consensus protocols or distributed systems practical. Pure mathematical leverage for scalability.
Let's bring this back to everyday people. The smart grid example again. It's not just about stopping hackers, it's about the privacy implications of all that data.
Exactly. Advanced meters, the ones utilities are rolling out, they don't just measure your total monthly usage. They can measure it minute by minute, sometimes even faster.
So they can see detailed patterns.
Highly detailed. When you wake up, when you leave for work, when you run the washing machine, charge your car. Potentially even identifying specific appliances by their unique power consumption signature. That level of granularity gives unprecedented insight into your daily life.
And that data could be valuable to, well, lots of third parties, advertisers, insurers.
That's the core consumer privacy concern. Who gets access to this incredibly revealing data, and what can they do with it? It's kind of wild that our laundry schedule is now a crypto problem.
Is regulation keeping up? Are there global standards for protecting this data?
It's very fragmented. Data protection laws are mostly national. The big exception is the EU's GDPR and related directives, which set binding goals for privacy protection across member states.
But they don't dictate the exact technology.
Generally, no, they mandate the outcome privacy must be protected, but allow countries flexibility in how they achieve it technically. Outside the EU, it's even more of a patchwork.
So getting a consistent global approach to smart grid privacy seems unlikely.
Highly unlikely anytime soon, which is why many argue that strong, built-in cryptographic privacy protections baked into the systems themselves are more reliable than relying solely on inconsistent regulations across borders.
Okay, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the quantum threat. Everything we've discussed, RSA, ECC, Diffie-Hellman, seems vulnerable.
It's the long-term existential threat to current public key cryptography. It all comes down to one algorithm. Shor's algorithm.
Developed by Peter Shor back in the 90s, what does it do?
Shor's algorithm runs on a hypothetical, sufficiently large quantum computer, and it provides an exponential speedup for solving exactly the problems our current crypto relies on, factoring large numbers.
Which breaks RSA.
The discrete logarithm problem.
Breaking Diffie-Hellman and Elgamal.
And the elliptic curve discrete logarithm problem.
Breaking ECC. So basically all of it.
All current mainstream public key crypto. Exponential speedup isn't just faster. It means problems that would take classical computers billions of years become solvable in maybe hours or days.
So the security effectively drops to 0, like using a Caesar cipher.
Pretty much. The best classical algorithm for factoring, the general number field sieve, has exponential complexity. Shor's algorithm runs in polynomial time on a quantum computer. It fundamentally changes the game.
So the algorithm exists, the theory is sound. Why don't we have quantum computers breaking crypto already? What are the hurdles?
They are enormous engineering hurdles. Building a quantum computer large and stable enough is incredibly difficult.
What's the main problem?
The biggest one is probably decoherence. Quantum states, the qubits, are unbelievably fragile. They need to be kept in a state of superposition, interacting in precise ways. But any tiny interaction with the outside environment, a stray vibration, a tiny temperature fluctuation causes them to lose their quantum nature, to decohere.
And the computation fails.
Completely.
Yeah.
The sources mention a system running near absolute zero at 1 Kelvin might decohere in just a nanosecond. Shor's algorithm requires millions, maybe billions, of coherent steps. Maintaining that coherence long enough is a monumental challenge.
Okay, fragility is one thing. What about sheer size?
That's the other killer obstacle scale. To factor, say, a 2048-bit RSA key, which is common today, you'd need a quantum computer with potentially millions of stable qubits and the ability to perform billions of precise gate operations.
Millions of qubits. We currently have dozens, hundreds maybe.
Exactly. We're orders of magnitude away,
Yeah.
and it gets worse. Because qubits are error-prone due to decoherence, you need massive overhead for quantum error correction.
More qubits just to keep the main ones stable.
Right. But the really crucial part is how the probability of success scales. Even if you build the machine, each run might fail due to gate errors.
So you have to run it many times.
Many, many times. And the number of trials needed for one successful run, according to analysis cited in the sources, grows super exponentially with the size of the number being factored.
Super exponentially, not just exponentially.
Super exponentially. That means adding just a few more bits to the RSA key length could make the number of runs required for a successful break grow astronomically.
Yeah.
Perhaps faster than Moore's law or any plausible improvement in quantum hardware reliability.
So the sheer complexity and error rate of the required quantum computation might itself be a defense. Physics fights back.
It seems that way, at least for the foreseeable future. The scale and the compounded probability of failure make building a practical cryptanalytic quantum computer an almost unimaginably hard engineering problem. The complexity itself is a kind of barrier.
Wow. Okay, what a journey. We went from the philosophical idea of relative truth in crypto proofs through the mind-bending concept of zero knowledge
Proving secrets without revealing them. Still amazing.
to the rigorous demands of zero information leakage in modern ciphers and seeing how these tools enable things like private digital cash.
And then crashing into the quantum threat, only to find that perhaps the sheer, almost unmanageable complexity of building the threat weapon is itself a form of security, at least for now.
That final point is fascinating. The idea that overwhelming complexity can be a defense.
It really makes you think. We saw how the super exponential failure rate tied to the scale needed for quantum factoring makes it practically impossible today. So here's a final thought for you, our listeners. Where else in our hyper-connected world might this principle apply?
Like the smart grid we talked about.
Exactly. Think about the immense, sprawling attack surface of something like the smart grid. Millions of sensors, meters, control systems, billing platforms, all interconnected. Individually, components might be vulnerable. But is the sheer scale, the diversity, the inherent complexity of that entire system actually a kind of de facto defense against total catastrophic compromise?
Is unmanageable complexity, paradoxically, becoming one of our strongest, albeit accidental, security features in these massive critical systems?
So something to ponder. Is complexity the ultimate barrier, even when individual parts are weak?